All right, welcome back to episode 21, I think. Either 20 or 21. I just watched Cape Verde hold out against Spain. That's the World Cup for you, mate. That's the beauty of the World Cup. What was I gonna say? In terms of quick recap as to, I'm starting off late to be honest, but better late than never. And I'm probably gonna condense today, whatever I do today and tomorrow, into one devlog and upload that. In terms of a quick recap as to what I did last time, you could see, oh my god, how long this paddle script is. So completely refactored my paddle script to reconfigure how I'm calculating my charge. So quickly to explain, um, before the way I was calculating charge, I had like my pivot, my wedge, and I had this like area called current radius, right? Let's just do CR. We had current radius, and anytime I pulled the trigger, it would make it go down closer to the pivot. And I was tracking this current radius compared to whatever the max radius was, and then compared to whatever the pivot rotator was as well. So I had all these values. Whenever I pulled the trigger, this current radius would either go up or down, and then convert that into a percentage of where it lies within the percentage of max radius and pivot rotator. That was a completely messy way to do it, but the reason why it was set up that way was because I originally was going to have like a physics object here which was going to physically hit the ball up and down and whatever, but obviously that wasn't feasible to do. It wasn't going to work because there was going to be a lot of inconsistency. So I pivoted, pun intended, towards doing a hit scan type. So whenever I released the trigger, just to check whether the ball was within the wedge, and I never got rid of how I was figuring out the percentage for the current radius, whatever. So now I refactored it all. So now whenever the player pulls down the trigger, what that does is I have a dedicated percentage called charge percentage. Is it charge percentage or charge speed? Current charge, anyways. And it's just directly a percentage in and of itself, so that's easier to translate across scripts and stuff like that. So I refactored all of that inside my paddle. That's why it's just all messy now. But that's been done. I also, inside my power up, I'm correctly modifying the radius by increase amount and setting it back to 0. So now I'm not directly affecting the max radius. What I'm actually doing is I've got the default radius, which is untouchable, and then I've got radius modifier, which is what's being modified whenever I increase or decrease the paddle speed. And then now, apologies, 1 second. Sorry, the ice cream van's here and it's not even that hot, so I don't understand. Anyway, so now I'm not directly modifying the default radius. It's just anytime I modify the radius, try to increase it or decrease it depending on power ups or hazards, I'm actually just tacking it on instead of directly modifying a value, which is much more safer in the long run. And then another thing that I did quickly was I implemented this idea that I had here, which was to make consecutive shots slowly decrease the charge up speed, so that if you keep a combo going slowly, it becomes much quicker to charge up the paddle for 100% hit. I felt like that was something that would reward correctly reward the player, but also speed up the game a little bit and make it, as you play it longer and longer and more, it slowly builds up tension. So I thought that was a good idea. So I've done all three of those. I'm not going to show exactly where in the script because this script is long now. Let me show a quick game demo as to what it looks like now. Of course, my controller doesn't work. Let me try to figure this out. Okay, now my controller's working. So quickly, because we did see it yesterday, but rerun. We've got our hittables there. You could see the charge speed now, but you'll notice the more we go on, the quicker the charge speed is. You could see when we hit the circle power up, the circle one was the power up. Once we hit that hittable, it increased the size of the radius, and at some point you'll see that about after 15 seconds the radius should go back. Now it's back down to its default value. So yeah, that's what it looks like. In terms of next steps, the immediate next step is going to be firstly I want to clean up this paddle script. Should be relatively easy. I'm not tweaking anything. But right now it's really messy. I've got old code and commented out code and code comments that doesn't make sense, like stuff like this. So I just want to clean it up a little bit, make it a little bit more organized. And then I want to do something for hazard hittable, which is similar to what I did with powerup, even though this is the parent class and this code is technically going to be inside the derived powerup class. I just want to see if I can plug in some type of code where if I hit the hazard hittable, it decreases the size of the paddle. So that once I do that, I'll have both a power up where the paddle size increases, and then I have a hazard which the paddle size decreases. So I'm gonna implement that, and then we'll see how I get along. Get on. Right, so just going to use this period as a little bit of a break just to explain where I'm at and my thinking right now. So I did manage to clean up paddle. That's not that bad, to be honest. It was relatively easy, obviously. Just removing some cold comments and refactoring stuff a little bit. But that's working exactly the same. That is sorted. Then I said I wanted to implement something with hazard, the same as what I did with powerup, except the opposite. Did I do anything with this? Okay. So I implemented it, just copied and pasted and changed the name. So obviously instead of radius increase amount, changed it to decrease amount, negating 50. Hazard duration seconds, everything's the same. Set the kind to hazard. And then on destroy, this should be called decrease paddle radius. So let's call it decrease paddle radius. Decrease. My typing speeds today is not that fast. But anyways, essentially the logic is the same. Calling status effect manager node, apply timed effect, and then calling the method modify radius, negating the decrease amount, and then to revert it, just setting that to 0. Again, as a quick reminder, it's just modifying this value here. Where is it? The radius modifier. So whenever I'm calling this modify radius, all it's doing is, okay, what number shall I set this to? Shall I set it to 50, minus 50, 0. Setting it to 0 essentially reverts it back to the default. And then if you put plus 50 or increase the radius, you put minus 50 or decrease the radius. So we got that, did that, and then started playing, and yeah, it works. So if I show you, it does work, but we do have an issue. So we do that, hit that, it decreases the radius, do a shoot super shot, boom, hit the power up, now it increases the radius. And now, okay, maybe that's what I want. Have these, if you hit a decreased paddle hazard, it decreases it. But let's say you hit a power up to increase it, it should override that, and now you've got the increase. Yeah, you can see now that it's reverted, and I've got these output debug print statements here. Let me explain what that's doing. Inside my status effect manager, I've got this using namespace system runtime compiler services. This is just for this here. What that is doing is it's able to, because my whatever script and object is calling this status effect manager method is going to be dequeued and destroyed. I need to figure out how to find out who's called it and from where. So that's where I got this from. Caller file path, get the caller file, get the caller member, get the caller line. And once I apply the method, it tells me who called it from what file and what line. And then once I revert it, I'm just saying same thing, except when it's applied, I'm saying method applied. When it's reverted, method reverted. And I'm checking how these overlap when you hit one after the other. And you can see there, if you remember from the gameplay demo I just showed, I hit the hazard and it's saying here, right, decrease paddle radius inside hazard hittable, method applied, and then soon after that I hit the power up. So I hit the hazard that decreased the radius, right, to a small radius. Then I hit the power up soon after that. And then, so what that did was set the power up, instead of decreasing it, set it to plus 50 instead of negative 50, right? That's correct. I want whatever the last power up or hazard was, I want it to overwrite everything. So that's good. But then you see here, decrease paddle radius, hazard hittable method reverted. And then it reverted the paddle radius to the default. And then we've got power up hittable method reverted. So that's obviously doing nothing. The reason why this is an issue is, let's say I hit a hazard, right? Decreases the paddle radius. We got play 15 seconds in. I managed to get a increased paddle radius thing, so it overwrites increases the paddle radius. But because there's only 5 seconds left, because that hazard, I hit it 10 seconds ago, and that method's still running. 5 seconds later, hazard finishes. Hazard, the method call finishes, then reverts it back to the default. So essentially, your power up was it was supposed to be 15 seconds, and it was only 5 seconds. So it's not actually overwriting it. It's overwriting the visuals, but the time isn't being overwritten. Hopefully that makes sense. But this is a big issue. It's more of an underlying issue that you wouldn't really realize until you actually play the game a bit. But it's still an issue nonetheless. I got it here. I've tried to conceptualize some fixes. So one of the fixes could be, I could decide, because again, this isn't what power up hittable is, right? I'm going to have power up hittable and then a derived specific for increased paddle size. Same for hazard hittable. I'll have a derived one, but I'm just using them as if they're the final article. What I could do is leave it as is, and in my level manager and inside my what's it called? Is it called spawn manager? Hittable spawner. And inside my hittable spawner and inside my level manager, I could write some code where, okay, if inside the pool of hazards and power-ups that I'm going to put onto the field, if there is an increased paddle size power-up on the field or an increased power-up, an increased paddle power-up that has been applied, don't spawn in a hazard that decreases the size, just so we don't have conflicting effects basically. So that could be one fix where that would be done later down the line once I have a level manager and once I flesh out my hittable spawner properly. That would be one way around it, where anytime I have two alternating power-ups and hazards, just make sure that if one's on the field or one's being applied, the other is never given on the field until that's gone away. Another fix could be fix how I'm calculating all this. And I don't know what that means, but or I don't know the answer or the solution for that. That's the problem with it. So we got our power up, hittable, hair, that's increasing the paddle radius. Hair is decreasing. And then we've got our status effect manager. Let's put that there. So another way is, I'm guessing inside of my status effect manager I have something in there to sort of make sure that if another method comes to override it, if two alternating methods come, a decrease and an increase, let the last value take over, apply that, and just forget the previous power up or hazard that you hit. I don't know how I'm going to do that in status effect manager, but that is one fix as well. I could apply both fixes, to be fair, but I do like the idea that you could get a decrease. Oh, Belgium hit the post. It's Belgium versus Egypt. I do like the idea that you could get like a really bad hazard on the screen and you hit and you get a decreased paddle and you're like, oh crap, and then you see that, oh, you can actually override this, get lucky. If you hit that, increase the paddle, and now you don't have to worry about a decreased paddle. So I think I'm gonna go with method 2, where fix how I'm calculating all this, which theoretically I'm thinking is inside status effect manager somehow in here. You know, just chuck away the previous method call once a new method call comes in. Don't know how I'm going to do that. I wanted to pause here because to sort of explain the direction that I'm going in. But yeah, I'm going to try to figure this out, and then hopefully after that I can explain how I did it. So let me get on with that. Alright, so got the Saudi Arabia versus Uruguay match on. It's 0-0 right now, I just started, I think. So, anyways, in terms of my project, this is probably going to be the end. I'm going to keep this one short. Let me mute that. I'm going to keep this episode short so that tomorrow I can wake up early and actually get more work done. But what I did was, I was trying to search a way to do it, but I felt like my problem was really niche and I didn't really know how to search it. Did ask AI for some help, and I don't 100% understand the code, but I do understand the gist of it, what it's trying to say. Implemented it, and it does what it says on the tin. I'm not sure if it's going to be the final code. Not sure if it's going to be the final code or I might have to tweak it, but nonetheless, what I've got is an enum, public enum called effect key, and whatever the effect is applying, if it's a duplicate effect, so if they're like standalone effects that I won't have an opposite of, then I probably won't need an effect key. I might add one just in case. But anyways, for something like paddle size, where I'm affecting the paddle size, whether that be increasing it or decreasing it, I'm plugged that as an enum inside effect key. Inside my power up and hazard, since they're both effects which is affecting the paddle size, what I've got here is I'm passing into applied timed effect. I'm saying, hey, the effect key is paddle size, meaning this is affecting the paddle size, right? Everything else is the same. I've got modify radius, give it the increase amount. I also added a new method inside paddle called reset radius, which is there. Same thing as modify, except just not asking for an argument and just resetting it to 0 like that. Because I felt like in the future it'll be a bit, instead of like directly passing a 0f there, just give nothing and just state that I'm resetting it. So it's a little bit more clear if I come back to the code later on, I know what's happening and how it's working basically. So inside status effect manager is where the grunt of the work is happening. And let me try to understand this. So we've got a private dictionary, which is an effect key and a cancellation token source, right? And this is called active effects, and it's just checking the active effects, right? We've got so we're passing in as arguments, the effect key, the apply method, the revert method, and the duration. So when this gets called first, when this gets called, apply timed effect. First, what we're doing is cancelling any existing effect with the same key. So we're checking, okay, check active effects. Try to get whatever I passed that. So let's say currently I've done paddle size increase, right? And then that was in the past, and that's 10 seconds has gone by, and now I've done a paddle size decrease. Both of them have passed in the paddle size effect key, right? So we're passing in paddle size. Okay, check out the existing. Try to get existing active effects and see. Okay, is there another one of paddle size? If there is, cancel it, dispose it. All right. Then what we're doing is create a new token for this effect. So new cancellation token source, active effect, pass it the effect key, CTS, pass it in this cancellation token source, and this token is now CTS.token. Again, I'm not 100% sure about the syntax of this. This is all like new syntax and new code for me. And then we do a try finally block here. So try to do the duration of the effect duration. So if it's 15 seconds, all right, try to do wait 15 seconds and then only revert if we weren't cancelled. So this is checking if not token, this token here is cancellation requested. So up here I've got like a cancellation request. So if by this time we still haven't gotten a cancellation request for the token, we revert it and then we call that um, print statement that I had before. And then finally, if I'm still there, then clean up if this token is still active, is still the active one. So if I haven't managed to hit another power up or I thought someone scored. If I haven't managed to hit another power up or hazard which affects the paddle size, then clean it up basically. So if active effects target value this one current and current equals CTS. So if the current one is still active, then just remove that effect key and dispose this CTS. And I can kind of understand the gist of it. A lot of the syntax I'm really new to, but I understand the logic of it. So let's show you it working in action. Remember, we still got these print statements here. So once I hit a power up or hazard, it will say power method applied. Once 15 seconds are up, it will say method reverted. And this time we shouldn't. If I hit two, if I hit both of them, it shouldn't revert both of them. It should only revert the last one that was hit. So let's try that now. Got this going. So remember, this is the power up here, and this is the hazard. So let's try hit the power up first. Boom, paddle size increase, 1. Let's wait like 10 seconds, 2, 3, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. All right, that's enough. Let's hit the hazard. This should decrease the size to the small value. And after 15 seconds, you could see power up, the method was applied. The hazard method was applied. And correctly after 15 seconds, if we wait here, it should revert now. And it will only be the hazard that was reverted. There we go. Hazard hittable method reverted. So we can see that um, the power up wasn't reverted because that got chucked out. Because as soon as I hit hazard, since they're both affecting the paddle size, that took over and that chucked out the old effect. The old what was it? What did I call it here? That chucked out the old active effect basically. Chucked out the old token. So let's try the other way around just to be safe. If I hit the hazard, it should shrink the size. If I hit power up, then it should increase the size, and I shouldn't. And then the hazard shouldn't be triggered. So that's a shrink. Let's wait a bit before we hit that power up. Okay, I'm a bit worried now. There we go. Okay, we've hit it now. See the paddle size has increased. If we wait, let's just like carry on. But after a certain amount of time, it should revert and just go back to its default size. There we go. And you can see here, and we can see here that we hit the hazard, that method was applied. We hit the power up, that method was applied. That overrides the hazard method. Then the hazard, since that has now been overridden and chucked out, then we do power up hittable method reverted after 15 seconds. So that is good. That's sorted. And yeah, that's gonna be the end of the devlog. It's a little bit of a shorter one. But I did start late, and I want to wake up early tomorrow and try to get like a big chunk done and have a fresh start tomorrow. In terms of like a quick recap of what I've done, we've got our effect key now. We've got that sorted. Cleaned up paddle. We've got a new reset radius method as well. Inside power up and hazard. So I set up so the hazard does the opposite of power up, where it's just reducing the paddle size. Inside power up and hazard, I am now passing in the effect key as part of the applied timed effect. And inside status effect manager, we're tracking the active effects using a cancellation token and the effect key, passing that as an arg inside apply timed effect, and then chucking out the new one, chucking out the old one, putting in the new one, and then running that method. And then if at any point during that timed effect a new hazard or power up which affects the paddle size is triggered, then we chuck out the old one as well. That's good. In terms of plans for tomorrow, like I said, I want to cut this short and wake up early tomorrow and actually get like a big chunk of work done. Tomorrow, what we've got now is all we've got is status effect, sorry, not status effect manager. All we've got is hittable spawner, and that's just like manually just spawning 4 hittables on the screen. I want to create a level manager node, and that will, my voice is like gone. And what that will do is hopefully I'm going to hook it up in a way where instead of having manually like 4 hittables, I'm going to have like I'm going to make it so that it's going to hook up to the level manager will hook up to the hittable spawner and then randomly spawn in those targets at like a decent rate basically, and spawn it at random points within this area, which I'm gonna probably have to put in an area 2D node or track where the wall, the left, right, and top wall is, and make sure it's within reach for the wall. That's the plan for tomorrow. But for today, I'm happy with what I've done. And yeah, I'm gonna have to edit this and pump this out. So yeah, take care. See you later. All of that. Goodbye.